What is up, everybody? It is another episode of Real Talks where we ask real questions about real estate. We got Mark back on. He's gonna fire off a question.
Not really a question, but just kind of want to hear your thoughts and your experience. So the consumer these days, buyers, it's so easy for them to go online, to go look at, Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, all these different websites. There's like also there's just this running joke out there that, like people spend all night just kind of like searching up homes, looking at these things. That was obviously very different than when you first started out in the business, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
Zillow did not exist.
Okay.
Email was barely used. Fax was the main form of communication. I still remember one of my first deals. Like the agent came to me and was like, "Here's the offer." Like that's how it was done. I mean, This wasn't that long ago, but it felt like a long time ago. But yeah, like scanning attached documents like almost did not exist.
Interesting. So nowadays, anyone that's looking for a home, the first thing they'll probably do is they'll probably just go online, right?
Yeah.
And like look at some homes on Zillow. What were people doing back in the day when you first started? Granted, it wasn't even that long ago, like early 2000s.
Newspaper ads.
Okay.
Was like, so every Saturday or Sunday there was the real estate section, and agents paid money to put their ads into the real estate section. Drive around, looking for sale signs. Calling, like we would get a lot of phone calls off of for sale signs. We still do.
Yeah.
Just because it's easy, it's convenient, it's right there. Or you knew a real estate agent that got all the properties for you, and we just basically emailed it out. At that point, we were able to email the listings to clients. Yeah.
All right. So because of that huge change of how consumers are finding the homes and stuff like that, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? How has that, changed our industry and changed the way that, real estate agents operate?
I would say it's a double-edged sword. I think there's so much information out there now that we don't know what's right or what's wrong. I think Zillow entered into a place where they literally created a solution to a lot of consumers' maybe fears, and they gave the information directly to the consumer. On a real estate agent standpoint, I mean, looking at it, it kind of sucks to one point, is because now their original business model was to sell advertisement space to the listings that we already had to give us leads of people that were interested in those properties. So I like to say we gave up the golden key because we had it locked down pretty well.
Now they can just bypass you completely.
And they're selling us leads back with our information, and they don't even own it, which is a crazy part. But I think just us as a real estate industry and the way that we actually operate or how we're governed, we work way slower than the traditional like tech company. But that's part of where we're at right now. And I mean, there's a lot of information, like I said, that's out there for consumers to analyze, to dissect. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I mean, it's hard to tell, right? Because people want that instant, like, what is this? I need to know, like, how do I get it? That's technology.
Because what I'm thinking is like, back in the day, your value as a real estate agent might have been honestly getting those listings in front of the buyers, like finding out them, sourcing them, putting together a list for them to like go show them homes on the weekends or something. But now, and what I'm used to, just having started in the last 2 years, is that I'm used to just telling my clients basically, like, hey, look, I'm gonna send you these listings that I think are a good fit for you.
Yeah.
You could honestly find these yourselves on Zillow's. And a lot of times, a lot of our clients do find listings on Zillow, Redfin, and they just send us the links to those, and they kind of are now curating those lists and saying, hey, we wanna go look at these.
Yeah. I definitely, like, there is no secret. Like, with all these websites out there right now, like, everything is online. But I still don't think that diminishes the role of the agent, if you're a good agent, right? Because yeah, you could be that agent that just goes out there and just opens up doors, and you hope and pray that the client's gonna like one of these, and you submit an offer, and hopefully you get it accepted, and boom, you got a deal. But I think if you're a good agent and you understand the clients and you know your marketplace, you could probably shrink the time frame by guiding them in the right direction based off of experience or know-how. So then they don't go around this huge runaround of, hey, look, I want to buy this. I got pre-approved for this. What do I do? Yeah. Right? But if you like really know what the client wants, what they really need, you like identify the key important factors, you should as an agent know where to direct them, or at least give them a, hey, why don't you focus on this area? Or this price point, you're probably priced out of this area, but this might be the next best thing. Being able to guide them in those directions, I think, could be very critical, because, you know, if not, you just go through the learning curve of trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. Yeah. And that's how I, to be honest with you, I learned a lot that way, because, you know, I had to understand the markets. I had to go out there and figure out, what does this community have over this community? Like getting down to, okay, what is the school ratings at this school? This property is on this street. They go to this elementary school. Like, I'm able to pick up the information pretty quickly, but that was only through just a long process of, you know, just being in the business, trying to figure that out. Like, I can literally almost, and this isn't just a brag, but this is just where like the experience comes into play, where I could see somebody post on social media like a property, and I can be like, oh, that's probably around this street, or that's in this city around this area. And like, I'll call people out, like, oh, you here, and they'll be like, oh, how'd you know? It's like, well, I've seen so many houses, I've been in so many of these communities so many times, like I know exactly where that part is.
Do you think that the value, we're talking about the value of the real estate agent, really. Yeah. Do you think that that's diminishing because of all these companies, or do you think it's shifting in any way? Or do you think that the value of the real estate agent will always be there?
I think from the consumer mindset, definitely it has.
I think though that these companies though want you to make it seem like that the role of the agent is no longer as important.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we can just do the deal for you. We'll buy your property and stuff like that, where they might not be fully disclosing everything to you.
Correct.
But I think what sets us apart too is like like you were saying, is like we take the time and we sit down with the client to really understand, you know, like what their needs are. It's almost like an advisor role, and like kind of like, you know, like we always joke about that we're always like the therapists for the clients, which you'll never be able to get that from a website.
No, I don't think you can. I mean, we had a deal recently where we lost the Open Door. Open Door offered them more money. They could stay in the house. After looking at the transaction, I mean, I don't think there was anything else better that we could have done except for go way out on a limb and like make ourselves look bad. They were able to fulfill what they promised. Yeah. But did it make the transaction easier for the client? No, because remember, like, most of these transactions that people go through, they literally have no idea what's going on. So you got to trust somebody to kind of guide you through that process. You know, I followed up with that client that we lost the deal. I mean, we lost the deal. I'm still following up with them just to see what they thought about the process. Did they hold up to their end of the bargain? Yeah. And I mean, he was on. He was like, you know, we're happy to one extent where we were able to get the price that we want. We weren't forced to leave. And I was like, that's amazing. Because even when he presented me with the deal, I was like, take that deal because it's a better deal. Yeah. I'm not here to hold you so I can make money. But then he said at the end, he was like, hey, Kevin, like, honestly, it wasn't the smoothest transaction. Like, it was difficult to get a hold of him. We had questions that we needed to have answered. We couldn't get them answered. It was like, we get the runaround. So the overall experience wasn't there. So I guess you kind of have to weigh, are you weighing more service? Is that more important? Or is bottom line really just all important? Because you will end up sacrificing one thing over the other.
Yeah. I think the way that I look at that is like, it just really depends on the consumer too.
Yeah.
the way that you described it kind of made me compare it to like financial advisors. It's like, are financial advisors important anymore? I could just kind of go to or like these like robo advisor type of things.
Yeah.
Right. But you're talking about the consumer experience, right? Having your needs tend for by a human being.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, especially when it comes to something like real estate, because it's such a huge decision, whether you're purchasing or selling. So I don't know, maybe for like some of the more savvy, real estate investors out there, they could just go to one of those things. Right?
I mean, I think that's what technology has enabled. It's enabled people to really streamline the process as efficiently as possible.
Yeah. Like that guy for Open Door, he didn't have to do any open houses.
Yeah, he didn't have to get the property ready. Nope. He didn't have to do anything. It was like, boom, here it is. And I think some of these big companies have figured out a way how to get their operational costs down. But is that necessarily the best thing in the world? I think that'll be a forever ending debate that either they're going to take us over or we end up gaining back a lot of the market share. But I mean, there's crazy ways, or there's crazy things that are going on in our marketplace that is like constantly changing every day with how the future of this industry is going to operate. I mean, it could change dramatically in like 10 years. Who knows? Yeah. Well, thank you for listening in on this week's episode of Real Talks. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you know what to do. Leave them below, and see you next time.